Hello and welcome to Business Daily on Trust Television, and we are set to kick your week going with developments from the business world, talking about what's happening in the economy, what's happening in the world of finance, what's happening with investments coming to the country, what's happening with regulation, and also the stock market. I am your host on the program, Christiana Amodu-Wotinya. Thank you for always making a date with us on the program. First, we'll begin with the headlines for today. And we'll begin from the front of security. Terror threats. British Airways changes flight schedules till November 7. Now, with issues around the Naira redesign, Finance Ministry says it was not consulted on plans. We'll bring more updates for you in the Business Roundup segment of the program. I'll take a short breather. When I come back, it'll be time to look at what's happening in the stock market in Nigeria and other parts of the world. Please stay.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back, and thank you for still staying there with us on Business Daily. Now let's go straight into what's happening in the stock market. As usual on the program, we'll begin from Customs Street, talking about the Nigeria Exchange. Now, the gains recorded by the Nigeria Exchange Limited in the week's first three trading session were completely wiped off on Friday after the bus closed lower by 1.60%. Now, this was caused by heavy sell-off in industrial goods, despite the bargain hunting in its sister industry that's talking about consumer goods. Now, we have the chart for you here. Now, 1.60% decline. The all-share index settled at 43,912.64. Now, on the activity level, a total volume of 122.79 million shares valued at 4.4 billion naira changed hands in 3,402 transactions. The equity cap settled at 23.91 trillion naira. Now, the market finished largely bearish for Friday. The Nigerian Stock Exchange, of course, will start trading. It's a new week. A lot of market analysts have said they expect the markets to shrug off some of the concerns that came in from last week that also affected some of the sell-offs that happened. And some experts have opined that the issues around redesigning the naira also had a role to play. The market basically reacted to that, hence when we are seeing this close of 1.60%. Now, let's go over to other buzzes in Africa, talking about what's happening with Africa's largest securities exchange, and that's in South Africa, up 0.35% at 66,616. Now, South Africa also going around with issues in the nation's economy, talking about issues around power, issues around the budgetary process, issues around tackling corruption. Remember, when the president of South Africa came in, President Cyril Ramaphosa, he said that the country will continue, his administration will work assiduously to fight corruption and also entrench progress in the South African economy. We are seeing that the JSE is also staying largely bullish. Now, in Ghana, the JSE is unchanged at 2,000 461. Did I mention what's happening with the Ghanaian economy? Of course, Ghana is still trying to see how the economy can come out of murky waters. Now let's go over to Wall Street. What's happening in the United States? Stock futures were slightly lower in early trade ahead of the final day of October. Yes, it's the last day of October, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average poised to clinch its best month in decades. And now we are seeing the Dow Jones here, as you can see on your screen, 2.59%, settling at 32,861.80. For the S&P 500, the S&P 500 climbed 2.46%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite up 2.87% there at 11,102.45. So all the arrows in this chart are largely pointing upwards, and it's bullishly bullish for Wall Street. Now, the markets in Wall Street and the global markets generally will be looking, all eyes will be focused on the Fed, the Federal Reserve. That's the FMOC in the United States, which is headed by Jerome Powell. What are we going to be expecting for the last meeting of the year for the U.S. Fed? The U.S. Fed has consistently hiked interest rates as a tool to rein in inflation and stabilize the U.S. economy. Now, that will be a key focus for markets, not just in the U.S., but around the world. Now, let's go over to the Eurozone and see what the numbers are like for European markets. Now, it's a mixed bag for markets in Europe. The FTSE 100 shed 0.37% there at 7,047.67. The CAC run in France down 0.62%, and the DAX in Germany up 0.96%. Now, for the Eurozone, there's also going to be focus on what's happening, especially with data. Regional investors will be watching for the latest inflation figures from the Eurozone for October, as well as the third quarter gross domestic data. That's the GDP data for the Eurozone. Basically, this data would give a pointer as to what the health of the Eurozone look like, the health of the Eurozone economy. So investors in this trade will be watching out for that data. So it's a big week also for data. Just last week, we saw data coming from the US. I was talking about inflation, talking about the gross domestic product. And just recently also, the European Central Bank, which is headed by Christine Lagarde, former managing director of the International Monetary Fund, also hiked interest rate. A jumbo hike, many have tagged it, 75 basis points. And the markets, of course, reacted to that move. Now, going over to Asia Pacific region, shares in that region were mostly high as China factory activity missed expectations. Now, the Nikkei 225 settled down 1.78%. The Shanghai Composite in China slipped 0.77%, while in South Korea, the Kospi up 1.11%. So the Kospi is the only positive we have there. Now, a lot of focus was on China's National Bureau of Statistics as it released Purchasing Managers Index data, with the official manufacturing print top US coming in at 49.2, missing expectations. Now let's go over to commodities market and see what the prices are like as we move forward in the program. Now for Brent crude, $94.71 per barrel, down 1.10%. Now the oil markets, the prices are widening as COVID-19 curbs in China will curtail demand, offsetting signs that output at the top US shale field is losing steam. Now, the Brent crude is in negative territory. Now, for the bullion, talking about what's happening with gold, marginal upsurge there, 0.02% at $1,642 per ounce. Remember, even Nigeria as a country, we have the natural resource of gold, talking about harnessing that market to also gain value in the international market. Now, looking at the agro commodities, silver is at $19. For agro commodities, palm oil is at $4,000, up 2.31%. Wheat is also climbing significantly there, almost 6%, 5.60 there. While for cocoa is doing $2,302 per metric ton, down 0.52%. For wheat, now we are seeing issues around Chinese customs. Recording shows 370,000 tons of wheat were imported during the month of September. And on the supply side now, the rainfall in Argentina improved projections for the upcoming harvest after drought concerns had previously emerged. However, the United Nations continue to express optimism regarding the extension of the safe trade corridor for Black Sea ports, hoping that Ukraine will be able to ship wheat and free much needed silos storage space. So that's it for the commodities market. So it's also a mixed bag here. We have three reds and 3 greens for this chart. Going over to the crypto market. Now, it is interesting that a lot of crypto enthusiasts and those that monitor the cryptocurrency market have tagged the market boring in recent time. Now, Bitcoin is still hovering around the $20,000 mark, I beg your pardon. $20, the market is going to really feel that. Now, $20, $20,000, 535 for Bitcoin, still hovering around above the air of $20,000, but shedding 0.61%. For Ethereum, Ethereum is at $1,586, down 0.02%. And the Binance coin is trading for $309.09, shedding 0.99%. A lot of eyes basically are still watching, like our tag has it here, Crypto Watch is still watching what's happening in the cryptocurrency market. So those are the numbers we have for you today. Now, as the markets open in the new month, a lot of market analysts are saying they expect that things will begin to stabilize for the stock market. Now, we'll take the business roundup and give you stories in the world of business.
British Airways is changing its London to Abuja flight schedule from October 30th to November 7th. In a circular on Saturday, the airline stated that the reason for the change is as a result of operational constraint. However, sources say the development is not unconnected to the ongoing security concerns in the country's capital. There were reports on Friday that British Airways flight from London Heathrow to Abuja on Thursday was diverted to Murtala Muhammad Airport in Lagos over security concerns at the country's capital. The airline also cancelled its flight, which was expected to arrive in Abuja on Saturday morning. The United Kingdom government had earlier advised its nationals to stay clear of Abuja due to potential terrorist attacks.
More than a few Nigerians have been concerned about the ongoing rising in the value of the dollar as against our naira, weakening the purchasing power of Nigerians who don't have any corresponding increase in their income, be it salary or whatever it is that they are doing. Now, this policy of the CBN, upon its announcement, and the desire of those who actually had this naira stacked in their domain, now trying to quickly buy dollar to ensure that they are still able to hold on to their money. Part of the immediate effect on that is that dollar is going up. In the black market, we're told as of yesterday, dollar was exchanging for 788 naira to $1 US.
That really you should call the monetary authorities because they're the competent authority to do this. We were not consulted. It was an announcement that we heard. And I've seen,
you two just saw the press release like every other party.
Part of the reasons that was advocated is that's one of the ways to mop up liquidity to manage inflation. But there are also consequences that we're also looking at. What would the consequences be? There will be some benefits, but there will be some challenges. And I don't know whether the monetary authorities have actually looked very closely as what the consequences are and then how they can be mitigated. So I still advise that you have that discussion with the monetary authorities.
Nigeria's Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, speaking to issues around the redesigning of the naira. And the CBN, in the Central Bank of Nigeria, indeed replied to the Ministry of Finance, saying it followed due process and it's within the purview of its law. That's the law that gives the CBN power to redesign the naira. No laws were broken. As we all know, which is public knowledge, the CBN is largely independent, and the naira is still reacting to that announcement, still reacting to that development, and the parallel market doing at about 800 naira to $1. And experts have called on economic managers to see how they can be like a convergence, basically, so that in the end, Nigerians that go about what they are doing, or Nigerians that are seeking better value of the naira, are not at the receiving end of policies like this one. Now, our focal point for the program today will be going into the technology sector. Now, Nigeria has recently brought about a ray of hope for those that are in that sector, talking about the Startup Act. We saw that coming, and that will be our focus for the program today. I have my guest on the program now. He's John Bosco Ezenwa, a business development consultant and basically also a player in the startup sector. I want you to speak to what you are expecting, especially for the Startup Act. I want to just begin by asking you briefly, before we take a short break, are you optimistic about this?
Completely, I am super optimistic about this, because this has put governance forward, given that it's a bill that started from private individuals. Yes. They start up themselves pushing the bill, then they move up to the government, and now government own it and taking it back to the citizen. This is the first part of all of this. I am excited, like some of my colleagues are. We're super excited about this.
Great. I like the excitement that we are seeing coming out from you and your colleagues in the sector. Many have spoken to issues around implementation, as that's where the real work will come in. Also, what will be the role of the state government in the conceptualization process of this act? I'll hold my horses here and take a short break. When we come back, we'll get into the conversation fully. Please stay with us.
That's great. That's good to see you.
Welcome back, and thank you for still staying there with us on the program. In case you're just tuning into the program, this is Business Daily, coming to you from Trust Television, and trust us to bring you unrivaled and factual analysis on major policy developments, regulations in Nigeria. Now, I will give you some facts about the Startup Act. Now, that like I mentioned earlier, that brought like a breath of fresh air to the tech ecosystem in Nigeria. However, these are some of the benefits that is expected from the Startup Act. Now, it's supposed to create an enabling environment for growth, attraction, and protection of investment in tech startups. Act is to provide 5% tax breaks to startups under the Pioneer Status Incentive Scheme after applying through the NIPC, that's the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission. Employees of labeled startups will be entitled to personal income tax exemption of up to 35% for 2 years. Investors will get an investment tax credit equivalent to 30% of their investment. Foreign service providers will be subjected to 5% withholding tax on the income from their services to labeled startups. Act is also to provide the enabling environment for them, that's those players in the sector, to continue to thrive and be successful. The new law will now serve as the legal framework for the growth of the sector. That's according to the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy. Nigeria joins Tunisia and Senegal as African countries that have enacted the startup bill. Nigeria startups have raised $3.6 billion from 2019 till date. African startups would attract $90 billion in tech startup funding by the year 2030. That's according to the Tony Blair Foundation. Now, so much potential in the tech sector. I want to bring John Bosco Ezenwa into the discussion now. He is a business development consultant and also a player in the tech ecosystem. $3.1 billion, huge. And Nigeria is also home to unicorns.
Yeah.
A lot of unicorn companies, talking about great companies that are doing great in not just Nigeria, but in the continent. And they have announced Nigeria to the world. Now, this act is expected to do a whole lot of good to that sector. You said you were optimistic. What makes you optimistic about it?
Yeah, thank you very much, Christiana. Interestingly, the startup bill has been now an act. We're looking forward to this, and essentially. So when we're excited about it because the startup ecosystem needs a breather. It is capital intensive,
yes,
and also not just capital intensive. You need smart people to drive that ecosystem. If you notice, it is the young Nigerians, young people who have driven this ecosystem for the last 25 years,
yes,
up until now. This is the first time government is stepping in with its might, full time, to support the startup ecosystem. So we are excited about this, and we see the benefit for ourselves because we'll be able to keep growing. We'll be able to, it's private sector driven, most importantly, but although we have government backing,
yes,
we'll be able to put together to create more spread, finance for everybody to go around, given the seed funding that's come out from this, from the government end.
yes,
There'll be seed funding, which is key. And also we will ensure that we will look forward to see that infrastructure is improved. Because the government supporting this means that internet infrastructure, which is the baseline for moving a digital economy,
yes,
it happens. So we're excited about this, to be honest, because it's a long time coming. This is a win to Nigerians, it's a win to the startup community, and also a win to the ecosystem, and a win also to NIDA that has put in so much effort, being the secretariat and pushing for this all of this time.
I hear you say so many good things, and I can basically feel the excitement from a lot of things you have just mentioned. Because one issue that have always come up, especially when it comes to the tech ecosystem, is that there is a divide between the system and the regulators. And there's been a clamor that those that are in the system, they want to be in the room when decisions are being made, decisions that pertain to the system. Now, do you think this will bring about more harmony? Now, besides just what we are seeing, signing of papers, a lot of camaraderie going on around this, how much harmonization do you expect? And what other expectations do you have?
So, interestingly, government cannot do all, especially in the tech ecosystem. Innovation is at the speed of light.
Yes.
So government can't drive this. It has to be private sector driven, even individual driven. So harmonization is happening. Also, the bill covers for harmonization where the government agencies, the key players in the government end, are brought on the table with the private end. For example, you have the CAC. The CAC has to understand what is happening in terms of, say, funding. Yeah. For example, if I go out to create angel investment that will power the startups that are coming out of the digital ecosystem, the CAC understand that I will do some kind of tax breaks and tax holidays for these people. Similarly, the FRS is on board. And also NIDA, who is the chief regulator of everything that happens in the digital economy, giving their support from by the Minister of Digital Economy, is involved. So every single person is on the table now. So this is the first phase. The first phase is the excitement, where we're all on the table, giving what we want to see in future. Now we're looking forward to the second phase. Second phase is implementation. The startup needs to come forward and get all the benefit. They are coming forward. The startups are excited to come forward, trust me, because this is a long time coming. People who have gone ahead of us in the startup places, people who are there for years, have been pushing for this, pushed all of this to the Senate. Didn't spend so much money to get this to the Senate, and now we are here. So we're excited, want to see that happen, want to see the second phase, which is when every startup who is interested is coming forward to get the benefit.
I want to ask you if you have any concerns. Now, we have seen what is expected. There's going to be a startup portal. There's going to be so many benefits coming from this. Do you have any concerns with regards to the challenges that those that have been playing in the ecosystem have been facing, and how this will address those concerns?
Yes, of course, there are always concerns. The concerns, just like I mentioned to you, if we have the government agencies who are the regulatory agencies, one thing that happens is over-regulation is an issue for innovation, really. So we expect that, given that there's a council that will look into every kind of concern that is brought forward, the essence for this Startup Act is for the councils, members of the council, to have listening ears listening ears to the startups themselves, because the startups are facing all of this challenge in promoting their businesses that create employment that improves the economy. So if they don't have listening ears, so the challenges I foresee for myself is if the agencies involved becomes a bottleneck over regulation again, given that we have some subtleness where you have 5% tax holiday, 35% there, 20% there. It's good, but they need to follow through. There need to be inclusive education for every single person in these agencies. For example, they are all stakeholders. Every stakeholder needs to understand what is happening in that sector. If not, we're back to where we were before. These are challenges I foresee.
Okay. I also want to look at the subnational level, talking about states, because a lot of this, we know that there are some states that are quite big on tech, the tech ecosystem, talking about Nigeria's commercial hub, Lagos, when the likes of Jack Dorsey of Twitter, Mark Zuckerberg, they came into the country. These places were their first bus stop, if I will put it that way. Now, how can we ensure, although I know states like Kaduna and Nasarawa are equally doing well in terms of developing tech sector, how can other states hop on this train in terms of taking this potential and harnessing it?
I tell you very quickly, tech business is expensive. It's not easy. For example, before you even get recognition, you have to put in sweat equity.
Yes.
Say in the state now, if I need to do a tech hub, I need to start doing free programs. I need to be known. I have to do free programs for say 1 year or even 6 months at the minimum before I get attention. It involves internet infrastructure. I need to invest in all of this. Now, the reason why the say known cities like Abuja, Lagos are thriving is because you have government presence, strong, good internet infrastructure, and some form of commercial activity. It's difficult in other states, but if state governments haven't gotten the act currently, if state government pass such acts in the state and domesticate it, it will go a long way to helping to improve their states, for their state to take advantage of the digital innovation system that is currently in place. So this is what I see for the state. They need to tap into it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the program, John Bosco Ezenwa, to share your thoughts on how basically to better the tech ecosystem in Nigeria. And like you have said, the startup law is indeed laudable, but we hope the implementation process will equally follow through.
True.
So the excitement does not die down, as you have mentioned. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
And in the words of President Muhammadu Buhari during the whole process, that Nigeria's greatest resource is, of course, her young people. And a lot of young people are innovating and playing so much in the tech space. It is then pertinent that that sector works and add value to the Nigerian economy. Looking at our GDP figures, the ICT sector has tremendously stayed on a growth trajectory. How about that is translated into issues around economic development and also job creation for the country. That's the size of the package we have for you today. Thank you for investing your time with us on the program. Don't forget you can catch up on updates in the news and major developments in the polity on our social media platforms. I am Christiana Amodu Othinya. Thank you for joining in and continue to stay safe.